And I exclaimed about that to absolutely nobody because I watched this alone. So I was like, hey, it's Guillermo. Okay, nobody's here. So that was fun. And again, I'm saying this to nobody. So go figure. What a sad existence I lead. I guess I should have named the show John Needs Some Friends. Nobody's done that, right?
That's actually really sad.
Welcome back to another episode of The Rank. I'm John, and today we're going to be doing another episode in my The Good Place rewatch / watch along and ranking. Now, if you're enjoying these episodes, or if you're just a fan of The Good Place and enjoy consuming content about it, please subscribe and or follow, like the episodes, and comment or email your questions and comments and whatnot. Please also consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TheRankPodcast. Now, today we're ranking the first episode of the third season of The Good Place titled Everything is Bonzer, written by Jen Statsky and Michael Schur and directed by Dean Holland. Now, for the sitcoms that have already been out a long time, basically any series that their entire series is done, you can stream them, whatever. I'm not going to worry about spoilers, so that's your spoiler alert. There's going to be spoilers in this for the episode. This is meant to be a sort of a rewatch anyway. So let's find out how this one stacks up, starting with the potent notables. So this episode of The Good Place aired Thursday, September 27th, 2018. It went from 3.193 million viewers for its season 2 finale to 3.134 million viewers for the season 3 premiere. Now, it wasn't in the 8:30 slot this time. It was starting to line up off at 8 p.m. This time. They ended up putting 2 episodes together for this one, and it led into Law & Order SVU, which got 5.087 million viewers. It went up against Grey's Anatomy, which had a 2-hour premiere and got 6.812 million viewers. It also had Thursday Night Football to compete with, which had 7.756 million viewers for its pregame, and then 14.447 million viewers for the game itself. So in case you're wondering, the Rams beat the Vikings 38-31. That was the game. It also beat a rerun of Supernatural on the CW, which got 744,000 viewers, but it was up against the juggernaut of The Big Bang Theory at 8 and Young Sheldon at 8:30, which had 12.038 and 10.208 million viewers respectively. It lost to Tucker Carlson that night by a lot, which is just insanely disappointing because Tucker Carlson got a 5.283 million viewers. But don't worry, it beat Anderson Cooper 360 and All In with Chris Hayes on CNN and MSNBC, even though those ones are the mainstream.
The mainstream stuff, it's pretty cheesy.
Now, the title Everything is Bonzer is a reference to the Australianism used as an exclamation of approval, a reference to the usual Good Place greeting of everything is fine. When Chidi and Michael are in the library, Chidi briefly holds up an autobiographical book written by Tay Zonde titled Chocolate Book. Now, this is a fake book that is an amusing reference to the viral YouTube video put out by the book's author, Zonde, wherein he sang a song titled Chocolate Rain and achieved a massive number of views that propelled him into his 15 minutes of fame. And if you remember him at all, you remember that because of this, he ended up appearing on tons of talk shows and had multiple voice acting roles because of it. So, getting YouTube famous, good for your career, I suppose. All right, so some more Tahani name dropping tracking. We have 2 different types of name dropping this time. One is not necessarily that she's name dropping. We get a view of the contacts in her phone. And these are the ones that we can see. Taika Waititi, Anna Hay, The Edge, The Queen, The Rock, Tom York, Tilda Swinton, Tiger Woods, Tim Cook, Tim Gunn, and Tom Brady. And then in the episode, she mentions the Dalai Lama, Prince William, and Nicole Kidman, Deepak Chopra, and Will.i.am. And then she has quotes on her book from Malcolm Gladwell and Cormac McCarthy. Just to recap all the different name drops she's had in a previous episode where they were testing her ability to not seek attention. She walked by doors of people that were talking about her, including Blue Ivy Carter, Northwest, Prince William, Prince Harry, Prince, Vajan's some crazy name, Wallace, Stephen Hawking, Fergie as in the Duchess of York, and Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas. She also name drops Paul McCartney, Freddie Mercury, and Winston Churchill by intimating that Freddie Mercury and Winston Churchill were in one of the doors and that Paul McCartney is her godfather, which doesn't really make any sense that Winston Churchill would be talking about her because he would have died a long time before she was born. But that's neither here nor there. She worked for Baz Luhrmann as his muse, and apparently she did a brief stint as an actress in which she stood around and had Baz throw glitter on her. She says that she's gotten pretty good at lying because of hanging out with Johnny Depp, presumably spending time with him in his bird sanctuary, as she says she's been there. As a fake demon, says she shoved hot dogs down John Wayne's throat. And Tahani's robot says she's been to Elon Musk's underwater mansion, and naturally the real Tahani says she actually has been there. She mentions that Kira Sedgwick is a dear friend. She saw a waiter give the wrong tea to Russell Crowe, and she went paragliding with Pippa Middleton in Gibraltar. She also says that she was on James Franco's ironic trolley. She's dated a Hemsworth brother. Of course, she says she dated one named Larry, who is not a real person. She's hidden from Javier Bardem and Vanessa Redgrave's Panic Room. She's snogged Ryan Gosling multiple times. She mediated conflict between her friends Scary Sport, Posh and Baby, or the Spice Girls, as they're commonly known, and Desmond Tutu. She has a lifelong friendship with Barry Diller that started from trust falls, gave Mark Zuckerberg advice about being good enough so that he would let Eduardo Saverin go. Also, she was the reason Mark dropped the from Facebook. She's good friends with Taylor Swift, friends with Kanye, and best friends with Beyonce. Princess Diana and Maggie Smith are her godmothers. Malala Yousafzai and Kylie Minogue wrote the foreword for her diary, and she had Princess Stephanie of Monaco and Posh and Becks, as in Victoria and David Beckham, at her 2006 fundraiser for stem cell research in Barcelona. So those are all of her name drops so far. And we're halfway through the show, so I'm assuming there's more to come. Anyway, those are all the potent notables. Let's go to the episode overview. As we head to the beginning of season 3, we start during the timeline of the end of season 2. We learn how Michael saved everyone from their respective deaths, and this is where we meet the doorman, played by Mike O'Malley, and learn that he really loves frogs, which becomes a bit, and it's actually really delightful. And we get to hear about how much Michael's enjoying Earth, like when he exclaims about a combo Pizza Hut and Taco Bell, which did get me, or how he put a gumball in his mouth. And then Janet's like, "Did you chew it?" And Michael's so upset that he didn't think to chew and laments this opportunity missed, As usual, good stuff from The Good Place. So the episode starts with everyone trying to get better in their life, but naturally as they encounter bad luck, their resolve falters. We already saw this from Eleanor in the season 2 finale when she tells Benedict Cumberbatch to eat farts. But we also get to see Chidi go from decisive right back to indecisive when his friend ends up in the hospital because he blames himself. Tahani goes from humility to false humility, like when she's joining the show 582 Questions with Tahani Al-Jamil. Now, we're not actually watching the decline, just the moments where they've already fallen at the beginning of this. Like with Jason, when we see him getting arrested and he asks the arresting officer to marry him because he knows that she can't arrest him if they're married. He knows this. Naturally, he does it. He proposes to her with her last name because that's what's on the badge. And she says something about it. It's not even like, that's not my first name. He sees that there's a K on the badge. And so he just assumes that her first name is the letter K because that's all that it shows. I'm going to always love how stupid Jason is. It's just always going to be a bit that works for me. And then this is all leading to Michael realizing that he needs to give them a nudge to meet each other. So we go back to Eleanor meeting Chidi, which is what we ended on last season. I still think it's a kind of a huge leap to think that she would have gone to Australia to seek Chidi just from YouTube videos, but whatever, I'm happy to roll with it. Now, Chidi and Eleanor's friendship builds, and I enjoyed watching them reconnecting again. It's such an interesting aspect of this show that the lead characters are always getting their memories wiped, so we get to see them rebuild their relationships over and over. Now, the story of Chidi and Eleanor culminates in Eleanor pushing for Chidi to go out with Simone, who's a psychiatry professor at the university. And then we get to see Chidi's year post-accident, starting with a great callback when Chidi takes his near-death experience to mean that he should stop drinking almond milk. So this is a real fixation for him. He's talked about it throughout the series, that he thinks that's why he's supposed to be in the bad place. Anyway, we see him going from decisive and happy to indecisive and unhappy. After he gives advice to a friend, he blames for the friend being put in the hospital because of this advice that he gave him. We also find out that Sean from the bad place and some other operatives in the bad place are desperately trying to figure out what's going on and following the events of Chidi, Eleanor, and Tahani and Jason's lives on Earth very intently. I would like to point out that we see Guillermo from What We Do in the Shadows in this scene, and I exclaimed about that to absolutely nobody because I watched this alone. So I was like, hey, it's Guillermo. Okay. nobody's here. So that was fun. And again, I'm saying this to nobody. So go figure. What a sad existence I lead. I guess I should have named the show John Needs Some Friends. Nobody's done that, right?
That's actually really sad.
Anyway, after a little more time with Eleanor, Chidi, and Simone, where Chidi finally decides on a thesis to study, which he decides he's going to study near-death experiences, along with Simone, who's going to take like a mapping of their brains after the near-death experience and match it with people who haven't had near-death experience. I can't remember exactly what the plan is anymore. But anyway, that's his thesis. But after he decides this, we get to see what Tahani's life was like for the year after her accident. And we learn right away that Camilla, Tahani's sister, gets credit for saving Tahani's life, which she freaking accepts. She's really just the worst. Like, Camilla sucks. I sort of wish I had a Camilla sucks shirt instead of a holy mother forking shirt balls shirt. Whatever. If somebody has that shirt or knows where to get it, send me the link, because I'll buy it. It's Camilla sucks. Tahani gives all her clothes to Goodwill, which is what she calls Prince William because he married a commoner. Just some more good stuff. Well, she ends up at a monastery, but before long, some annoying guy shows up and starts her back on the path to her old attention-seeking ways. She ends up writing a book called Get Out of the Spotlight. We get to see some of the quotes for the back of the book, and one is from Malcolm Gladwell that says, "This book is so brilliant, I've decided to quit writing because I'll never top it." And then the next quote is from Cormac McCarthy, which just says, "Ditto." That's a really fun literature joke that I enjoyed. So Michael shows up and points out her hypocrisy to her, which convinces her to go to Australia to take part in the study Chidi is doing. And after she shows up in Australia, we move on to Jason and we get to see what his year was like. Michael shows up here and he's trying to push. When Michael saves Jason's life, he puts this flyer for a community college, which Jason just doesn't even see. And instead, Jason decides that he's going to go all in on his dance crew, Dance Resolution. Of course, they fail continuously until Jason suggests they go back to crime. We should go do crime. Oh, Jason. So Michael has to be much less subtle with Jason. He gets him to go to Australia finally, and he gets them all together. So Michael's feeling really secure in their ability to change their lives, right? He goes back to, his monitoring station in the, I guess it's the neutral area. I can't remember what it was called now. But when he gets back, he notices that something's wrong, something evil. We cut back to the group, and Trevor, the demon, is there with the group, with Tahani and Chidi and Jason and Eleanor. And that's how this double episode ends. So let's get to the rank and see how it did.
A rank.
So the rank is where I rank the episode based on 5 categories: story, acting, dialogue, episode coherence, and character relatability. I rank it on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the worst and 5 being the best. And then I add a laugh counter, which is where I tally the amount of times that the episode made me laugh. 1 point per laugh out loud, and that gets added to the cumulative ranking. Now, just so you know, because this episode is a double episode, I cut my laugh counter in half because, it's got double the opportunity of the other shows, of the other episodes, so it's not really a fair comparison. So, first category is story, which I gave a 3.5. So this is the story of how we get them all back together. It's fun, but it's a little choppy. I'll save a little bit for coherence, but it just feels like the plot here is pretty thin. It's not bad. The show has earned leeway. It's good even. It's just thin. So the next category is acting, which I gave a 5. I love the acting in this. It's just fantastic. Whoever the casting agent is on this deserves an award, because whenever they bring people in, even just to guest star, they tend to just be great. They tend to be the exact right person for the job. It's like the best part of the show. So let's go to dialogue, which is the next category. I gave a 4. As always, the dialogue is great, but it's a little light on laughs again. Not terrible, just not as good as it has been. 4 is by no means a bad score. I've given this thing 5s plenty of times for dialogue. It's not there. So the next category is episode coherence, which I gave a 2.75. The characters all continue to work for me, but I'm having a lot of trouble with them all getting to Australia for this, especially Eleanor. Weirdly, Jason is the one that makes the most sense because Michael straight up offered it to him. Now, Tahani's was decent, not terrible, but would Chidi have really bothered calling Tahani? They say in the show, he was suggested to her by this random professor that we know is supposed to be Michael. But even so, how did he find her number? I mean, it's pretty silly. And obviously, on the previous episode, I talked about how that I necessarily believed that Eleanor would have gone there, and I said it at the beginning of this one too. But either way, it's not like it's the worst coherence. It's just, it requires a lot of faith on the audience's part to believe it. So let's go to the next category, which is character relatability. which I give a 3.75. They're all very relatable, but the issues with coherence drive this down a little bit. It's hard for me to relate to their reasoning. So that all being said, my laugh counter was a 25 for this. And if we cut that in half, it's 12.5. So I rounded up to 13. For the ranking part of this, it's getting a 13 for the laugh counter. This puts the episode total at a 32, which puts it directly into the mediocre tier. For those of you who don't know the tiers yet, it goes from best to worst: meaning of life, the holy grail, I'd watch it again, mediocre, rank it and regret it, and disaster piece at the bottom. So thanks everybody for listening. If you'd like to see a list of our episode and series rankings, you can do that on our website at therankwithjohnandzach.com. Remember to subscribe, review, and comment, and please consider supporting us on our Patreon site at patreon.com/therankpodcast, where you can get exclusive perks. And I'll leave you with this. You know why Trump was really disappointed with this episode? He thought it was titled Everything is Bonzer.
No.
Okay. All right, bye. Why does my face want to itch as soon as the camera turns on?
You should probably get that checked out.